I worked at this restaurant called Clark's by the Bay. It was owned by this famous football player, Dwight Clark. He was famous for making an incredible catch. One of the Super Bowls that the 49ers won was actually a game-winning catch, I think, from Joe Montana. But anyway, Dwight Clark was a really nice man. He used to stop by and make sure everything was okay. I got hired as the chef there. It was the largest restaurant I'd ever worked in, much less managed a kitchen. I have many stories from there, but this particular one is about ducks. The restaurant, the kitchen had a front that was out in the dining room, and it had a very well equipped back kitchen, and there was a long hallway that went down to a back door that led to an alley that led out to a parking lot. It was a long alley, and we had a number of problems because the door was always open there, and the guys used to have their friends come over and visit them while they were working, and it interfered with their work, and the owner kept claiming that they were dealing drugs out of there or stealing or whatever. I never found any evidence of that, but also it was open to the ducks. The restaurant was located adjacent to a marina in Redwood City in California, outside of San Francisco, and there were a lot of ducks there. They were always having babies, and there were a lot of ducks with little ducklings following them around, and they used to find their way through the alley into the back door of the kitchen and into the kitchen. And you'd be working at a table in the back kitchen, and you'd feel this little nibbling on your pants, and you'd look down, and there'd be a duck nibbling the scraps off your pants. And so you'd have to escort them out the back door and try to shoo them out the alley. And I had a friend, he was kind of my assistant. His name was Bela. I have a lot of stories about him, but one of the things, one day we were working, and Bela was at the end of the kitchen end of the hallway. You couldn't see down the hallway from where you were working, and he was screaming at somebody, "I told you never to come here. You're going to have to get out, and I told you once before, I told you a million times before. You've got to get out of here, and get out of here right now. I'm not kidding. If you don't, I don't know what I'm going to do." And he went running down the hallway, disappeared, and came back. That'll take care of them. And then a little later, he was yelling at them again. "I told you not to come here. Get out of here. I told you." So I assumed he was talking to one of the cook's friends that had come by to visit or something. I went over there to look to help him out, and there's a whole family of ducks in the hallway, and they're looking at him like, "Who the hell are you? We're not going anywhere." So we had to chase him down. Anyway, so Bale had a daughter, and I guess he and his wife were separated at the time, and he used to get the daughter every once in a while. She would come and visit him, and I think it was her birthday, and he was all excited. This visit of this 4-year-old coming to visit him at work. Brought her down to work, and he's showing her all around the kitchen, expecting her to be interested in the ovens and the tables and the 5 or 6 huge walk-in refrigerators that we had. And and all the food and the dining room and all these things that he thought that she would be fascinated with. And when it really came down to it, she was fixated on the ducks. She was following the ducks around and just, told her mother when she went back how about the ducks. And so things went along, and then I guess another holiday or another birthday came around or something, and he was expecting her again. But in the meantime, the duck population had dwindled. And I guess we figured out, we may have seen, somebody saw a fox. There was a fox running around there and getting all the ducks, and Bela was beside himself. What was he going to do? There were no more ducks, and how was he going to explain it to his daughter? So I couldn't help him. I didn't know what to say. So he shows up with a daughter, and she says, "Daddy, where are the ducks?" And he said, "Oh, honey, this is going to be hard to explain to you, but there aren't very many ducks around anymore." And she said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, to tell you the truth, there's a fox, and he's been getting all the ducks and eating them." And there was this huge silence, because whoever was around knew he had been so worried about how she was going to take it. And she was silent for a minute. She was about 4.5 or 5. And she had this very puzzled and serious face. And suddenly she said, "Where's the fox?" So then he had to tell her that the fox wasn't around during the day. And anyway, so then, but before that, while he was worried about it, I used to drive him to work most days. I used to pick him up and drive him down. It was 30 miles from where we lived in the city, and I used to go by and pick him up and take him home. And of course, at the end of the day, he would have a couple of drinks, and he was so worried about how he was going to explain this disappearance of all these ducks to his daughter. We were driving home one night, and the parking lot led to this long road that went down to the freeway, that we would get on the freeway to go back to the city. And there was this embankment that ran along the right side when we were leaving. There was this embankment that ran along the side of the road. And we were driving down this road with a window open. And Bela was a little lit, and he looked out the window, and he goes, "There's that goddamn fox." And so he started yelling out the window at the fox, You killing all my ducks, and now I have to explain to my daughter, and you better get out of here, because when I come back, I'm going to get a gun and I'm going to shoot you." And the fox just kept loping along, looking at him like, "Who the hell are you? I'm not going to pay any attention. Geez, these humans." Anyway, so that's the story of the ducks and Bela's daughter. So we became accustomed to this sound of the ducks all the time. And you'd leave the restaurant, you'd have to kind of walk around these ducks and kind of shoo them away while you were walking to your car. So the ducks were pretty much on our minds subconsciously, I guess, But anyway, so later on, I wasn't working at that restaurant anymore. That's another story. But anyway, I was looking for work, and I finally found this place in where I ended up for a long, long time. Actually, like 20, almost 30 years. A restaurant called Bambino's, and it was this tiny little restaurant in Coal Valley near where I live here in the Haight, and it took a little bit of an adjustment because Clark's was 300 seats and Bambino's had 50 seats, and I thought it was going to be a lot easier, but it wasn't at all. Because they did a lot of delivery and pickup, and I had never done that, and I had to get adjusted to that, and that leads to another bunch of stories. But anyway, I'm working there, and I hear this whack 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 whack, and I said to myself, "Oh no, they followed me here. The ducks followed me here, and they're going to annoy me here." And there was this. For a long time, we had all our pizza makers. We made pizza. All of our pizza makers were Brazilian. And of course, they thought I was a lunatic. Which, anyway, so I hear this whack 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 whack, and I go out in the back, and I'm looking around, and I can't see any ducks, and I keep hearing the whack 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 whack, and I go up to this guy, and I go, "Where are the ducks?" He goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "The ducks. Where are the ducks?" He said, "We don't have ducks here. We don't serve duck." And I said, No, the ducks. They're making that sound, whack, 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 whack." And he said, "No, that's the dough mixers." And I went back in the back room where they had the dough mixer to make the pizza dough. And I was going, whack, 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 whack. Whack, whack. I was like so relieved that the ducks hadn't followed me there. Then, another duck story. Somewhere along the line, I was still doing all the prep and everything. Didn't have very much help, and was pretty much overworked, and my mother got this idea in her head. She was going to pay for the whole family to go to Disney World in Orlando. So I said, she is asking everybody, my sisters, and, is everybody on for this? And because I'm going to buy the tickets and everything. I said, yeah, sure. I didn't really think about it. It was a long way off. So I'm just going, life goes on, and I'm working. And one day she calls up and she says, "Are you ready to go?" And I go, "What?" And she says, "Are you ready to go to Orlando? It's this weekend." And I said, "Oh, no." She said, "Yes, it's this weekend. And, you have the tickets. I sent you the tickets and everything." I said, "Oh, my God. I got so much work to do. I can't leave." And she said, "Well, you promised, you have to go." I said, "Okay, I'll see what I can do." So I had to work like crazy because I was going to take about like a week off, and I had to do all the work for the next week and build it up because nobody else knew how to do it. And so I was working like a dog for a week, like even more harder than I normally worked. And I was exhausted, and she had booked the flight for the evening. I think like right after I would get off of work, I had to go straight to the airport, and I managed to get packed earlier in the week and have everything and brought it to the restaurant, and I was ready to go. And I had one of the pizza delivery drivers, to take me to the airport, and I was just so tired. And the plane left at like 1:12 or 1 o'clock in the morning or something, and of course I couldn't sleep on the plane, and And I was getting more and more miserable, and I get off the plane, and I don't know, you know, where, what to, how to, where to go or what to do or whatever. And this guy comes up to me and he goes, you know, do you need a ride? And I said, yeah. And he's, you know, he's like a cab driver, and he goes, well, where are you staying? So I tell him, you know, it's like this hotel room, you know, and it, you know, he says, okay, I'll take you there. So I think he was Brazilian too, I'm not sure. But anyway, we get in the car, and he's taking me, and he's going, oh, you must be so excited to, you know, to go to Disney World. And I said, well, actually, no, not really. I kind of got my arm twisted into this, and I'm exhausted. I had to do a lot of work to get ready for it, and I really don't know, you know, I mean, it's for kids, you know, like you know, my niece and nephew, they're going to enjoy it, but I really don't see how it's going to be a big deal. I'm only doing it for my family because I promised, and it'd be nice to see them, but I'm just totally exhausted and hungry. The plane was in the middle of the night. They gave you a little snack, but it wasn't, and I hadn't really eaten because I used to eat after work. So he's like, oh, it's Disney World, you know, everybody loves it. You're going to have a great time, you know. I said, no, I don't think so. And he said, no, you know, you get a little sleep. And I said, well, they're coming like in a couple of hours, you know. I don't see how I'm going to get any sleep. And he said, don't worry about it. You're going to have fun. He said, I'm going to take you to the room. You'll drop off your bag. I'll take you to a place to eat. And then I'll show you where the bus is to go back to the room. So, sure enough, he takes me there, and I drop off my bag, and he takes me back to like a food court, you know, and he says, here, yeah, after you eat, you wait here for a bus, you know, and they'll take you to your room, you know, and so I said, okay. So I go in, and I'm at least I'm going to eat, you know. So I don't remember if it was like a cafeteria or it was something like, you know, it wasn't table service or anything. It was food court. So I got some eggs and toast and bacon, and I started eating. The bacon is like cardboard. The toast is like paper. It's like sponge, like dry sponges, the toast. The eggs were like eating like, I don't know what you, how could I describe the eggs? They weren't very good. I barely managed to like get it all down. It was disgusting, really. But I'm sure they've improved the cuisine there and it was in the middle of the night. I got to admit, it was about 2 or 3 in the morning, or 4 or 5. I don't know. But anyway, I got something in my stomach, and I go out, and I'm waiting for the bus. So the bus isn't coming, and it's not coming, and it's not coming, and I'm thinking, you know, I only have a few hours of sleep, and they're going to be here, and I really can't afford to wait for this bus. You know, so I start walking. And, you know, I guess I must have misread the number or something. It was like room 6,000 or 6023 or something. I don't know what it was, but I'm walking, and I'm looking at the thing, and I walk about a block, and it's like 100. I walk another block, and it's like 150. And I'm thinking, oh man, maybe I should have waited for the bus, you know, and the next time I see a stop, I'm going to wait, you know. No, I didn't see a stop, and I kept walking, and I'm exhausted, and I'm miserable, and I'm starting to think, like, why did I even do this? I shouldn't have done this. I should have put my foot down and said I couldn't go. And any excuse I shouldn't have come. So I'm walking, and little by little it starts to rain. So it's raining, bloop, 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 bloop. And I think, oh, on top of all this, it's gonna rain. That's just fine. So I'm there. I was wearing one of those nylon bomber jackets, the kind that the Alpha makes, and a baseball cap and some jeans, I think. And I'm walking along, and the rain starts getting a little harder. Blip, 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 blip. And I'm going, oh man. And I'm looking at the buildings, and I'm at like 300 or 400 or something. And I've got like I'm supposed to go to 6,000 or something like that. I'm starting to get really, really miserable. All of a sudden, the sky opens up and just dumps water. Like somebody dumped this huge bucket of water. And in about 2 seconds, I'm soaked to the skin. I can feel like everything sticking to me. I'm just completely soaked. Right now, I'm like so miserable. I'm talking to myself. I'm walking along and I'm going, this is the stupidest thing I ever did. I should never have done this. As soon as I get back to the room, I'm going to call the airport. I'm going to book a flight. I'm leaving as soon as I get back to the room. This is the worst thing I ever did. I can't believe this is happening. Blah, 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 blah. All of a sudden, I run out of expletives for a minute and I hear, and I go, yeah, I know. And I go, wait a second. And I look down, and there's this duck walking next to me, and he's walking like Groucho Marx, like, and he's like, this mimicking me. I'm going, oh my God. I started laughing hysterically. I stopped. I was laughing, doubled over hysterically. The duck was looking at me like, why are you laughing? You were just miserable before. I'm just commiserating with you, and you start laughing. That's a fine thing. So I looked at the duck and I said, no, I really appreciate it. I needed to laugh. So I walked the rest of the way in the pouring rain with the duck walking next to me the whole way. And we finally got to the room, and we go up to the door, and he looked at me. He's like, "Okay, you gonna be okay now?" And I looked, and I go, "Thank you so much." And I got in the room, and I went to bed, and I had to take a shower. I hung up all my clothes by the heater there, and I got to bed, and I slept maybe 3 or 4 hours, and my family descended on the room, woke me up, and of course the kids wanted to go right away, and we went, and we spent 3 or 4 days there. I had the time of my life. It was a wonderful thing. If you ever get a chance, you got to go to Orlando, Florida, to the Disney World there. But yeah, I always think about that, and I always think like that I had some angel watching over me, and he went to God and he said, Joel's really having a bad time. We got to do something. You got to help us out. This poor guy is miserable. He's supposed to be having a vacation, and he's having the worst time of his life. And God told the angel, well, you got to get some comedians. He needs some comedic relief. He needs some relief. And the angel said, well, who do we get? And he said, well, look, first you get Groucho Marx, and then you get Walt Disney, and they'll tell you what to do. And they sent me the Groucho duck. So anyway, that's why I won't eat duck. I won't serve duck in a restaurant that I work in, and because at that moment that duck saved my duck butt. Anyway, so that's the duck stories. Hope you enjoyed it.